Once upon a time in town, four people died at the same time. Each of them was from different backgrounds and held different beliefs. One was the king of the kingdom, and another wealthy merchant, and the third devoted priest, and the last one poor laborer. By coincidence, they will passed away at same time. After their death, they are all arrived at the court of the god of death in their respective life. In the court, the god of the dead sat on a grand throne at the front. To one side, there was the gate of hell, from which fire and waves of hot winds and coming. On the other side, there was a gate of heaven, which was beautiful and radiant with divine light and cool breezes. Beside the god of death stood his assistant, who was explaining the life of books of all four of them. The four of them began to discuss about their deaths and signs, wondering who would go heaven and who would go to hell. The king, who was very confident, boasted about his gently and the good words and said, I will surely to go heaven. He declared, I have performed a number of charitable acts, donated generously, and ruled with fairness. My people always love me. The wealthy merchant also said with confidence, I have also done many good deeds, donate food, money to poor. I will also to go into heaven. The priest also said confidence, I am not sure about you, but I have conducted countless rituals and worship God. I have guided others on the path of rightness. I deserve my place in the heaven. Then they turned to the poor laborer who was sitting quietly, with a mischievous smile on their faces. They asked him what good deeds he had done to deserve heaven. The laborers humbly admitted, I have no significant debt to my name. I only worked hard, feed my family, and cared for many elder children. Hearing this, all three of them started laughing and mocking him. After some time, they returned to come to judge. The assistants of the god of death first called king, asking about deeds. The king said proudly, I have given food to thousands of people, donated gold coins to poor and ruler justly. No one and I am happy in my kingdom. The assistant looked into the book of King's life and said, Kings, you have done many good deeds, but you also fought number of wars, invaded many kingdoms out of killed, and caused the death of thousands of innocent people and soldiers. Your sins outweigh your good deeds. You cannot go to heaven. You deserve hell. Listening to this, the king's face fell in disappointment and he stepped back. Next, the assistant called wealthy merchant to explain his deeds. The merchant stepped forward and recorded his charitable acts and said, I give food to the poor, donate money to poor and temple. I have done my many good deeds. The assistant looked him person like book and said, You have done many good deeds, but you also exploited the poor with high interest loans, kept them in debit forever. You mixed impurities in food products and sold, which made many people ill. Your sins outweighed your good deeds. You cannot go to heaven. The merchant paid it with disappointment and he stepped back. Then the assistant called the priest, explained his debt. The priest came forward and started explaining his merits. He said, I conducted many sacred rituals, worshipped God in my whole life, and guided many people on his righteous path. I performed many sacred ceremonies. Other assistants of the god of death said, Perseus, you did many good deeds, but your actions were driven by greed or money. You preached rightness, but did not practice in yourself. You are selfish and hypocritical. You too cannot enter heaven. Listening to this, Priest's face filled with disappointment and he stepped back. Finally, poor labor turned calm. The assistant asked him about his deed. The labor said humbly, I have not done anything significant in my whole life. I was poor labor who worked hard to feed my family and care for my elderly parents. I never had enough money to donate to others. Saying this, started moving back. The assistant looked in his life book and said, wait a minute. Do you remember once you feed strayed the dog? The labor recalled the innocent and said, yes sir, I have faint memory of it. One evening, after a long day of work, I had a very little food left in my life. After feeding my family, when I was about to eat my only piece of bread, a hungry stray dog came and sat in front of me. I gave him the piece of bread I had him to sleep on his empty stomach. The assistant closed his book, looked at the labor with grace and said, my friend, your selfless act feeding the hungry dogs with the only piece of bread you had yourself has earned your broad merit. Additionally, you worked hard, used the righteous means to provide for your family and serve your elderly parents. These deeds have accumulated enormous merits in your life. All these actions are more than enough to grant you entry in heaven. Hearing this, the labor eyes widened in surprise, and tears started to flow in his eyes. So after the gate of heaven opened and the poor labor got entry into heaven, and the other three kept watching to astonishment. If you see in your life, you will realize that it does not matter whether we have wealth